Hey guys, let's talk about the Ranger. Nope. Hey guys, so after the Gambler, we actually made it home with the Ranger. So I apologize for taking so long to post this update. Driving 3,000 miles in 3 days was a bit overwhelming and ended up not really touching the truck afterwards. So even though it made it, it definitely had a lot of problems along the way. The reason we ended up not posting a video update from the return part of the trip was we were way too busy just trying to keep moving. We ran into a lot of problems with the clutch giving out. Fortunately, we have to rip the clutch out anyway because we have to take the whole block out. So while we have it out, we're gonna go ahead and replace the clutch, replace the slave cylinder, since we're pretty sure that there's something wrong in that system and there's some air in it, so the slave cylinder could be weakened anyway in the clutch. What started happening on the way home was the clutch would not depress all the time, so sometimes you'd press the clutch pedal and nothing would happen. You'd have to pull it out of gear without actually being able to use the clutch. The problem seemed to be getting worse as time went on, and each night we parked it, it was worse the next morning. Also, since we had a cylinder unplugged the whole time, we had to rev it a lot to get moving, and whenever we did that, we would really put a lot of wear on the clutch, and I think after 3,000 miles, we actually smoked the clutch pretty good. I noticed that on my final leg of the drive home, I could actually smell clutch even though I hadn't been using it a lot, so I had to assume it was just slipping all the time from the abuse. Also, the knocking sound that we had got a lot worse. I'm assuming that when we clean up the block and either put a new one in or get that one redone, that'll go away. But yeah, we made it 2,000 miles with one cylinder unplugged, and that in itself was very impressive to me. So one of the things that surprised me on the trip was we actually made it with the original battery that we bought the car with. Now that battery I had left in the car the whole time we were taking the engine out and absolutely killed it. Had to go get it recharged. I killed that battery a couple times. Even with all that abuse, it made it, and it was already 2 or 3 years old. Unfortunately, that completely gave out when we got home, and I actually found out why we were getting so much battery acid on top of our battery. The terminal is actually cracked and it's coming out of the battery. So I'm actually on the way to AutoZone to get a new battery now, and then I'm going to take the truck in to get the AC discharged properly, since we have to rip the full block out and I don't want to just vent it. Luckily I found a shop that'll do it for $40, and they'll also recharge it for us when we put it back together. So I don't have to do any of the work of recharging the AC once we get this engine back in, so that's awesome. And here we have a battery that's not totally shot, so we're going to drop this bad boy in and actually get this AC discharged. Alright guys, try to. Even if I get it to turn on, I don't know if the clutch is even going to work. We're moving. Clutch is at the floor. Okay. Oof, the clutch grabs about that far from the floor right now. It will be closed July 2nd through 12th. Oh my God. Alright guys, the place I was going to is closed today and half the rest of the month, so bad luck. And I can't get into reverse. So the last part we need to actually be able to get started on this engine rebuild is an engine hoist and an engine stand. So I was pricing a lot of those out, and they generally range from $200 to $800. We don't need anything crazy, we're just lifting a little 4-cylinder out. So I was going to, if all else failed, get the Pittsburgh Automotive 2-ton for $239 from Harbor Freight. But since this is a Gambler car, I figured we could save a few bucks. So I ended up shopping around a little bit and finding someone who was selling a 2-ton engine hoist and a engine stand for $100. I'm going to look at that today, probably going to pick that up, load it in the car, and we should be set for getting started on our engine rebuild. All right guys, we got completely stood up. Guy never showed up. We didn't get an engine hoist. Very frustrating. Anyway, we're going to keep shopping and we'll get one eventually. The engine hoist that we need to actually get the engine out is sold out everywhere. The engine stand is also sold out everywhere, at least at every Harbor Freight. Since Harbor Freight has basically the cheapest engine stand we can find, which is $200 for the engine hoist and $50 for the engine stand. So I went to Harbor Freight today and tried to buy an engine hoist and an engine stand. I walked in with the usual 20% off coupon, and basically the guy didn't have any engine stands available, any engine hoists available. He told me none of the stores in the area by me had them available, and there also weren't any that he'd gotten from the warehouse in months. So something's going on with that, not sure what. So I've gone back to just checking online marketplaces and trying to find used ones for sale. I'm going to pick up one now for 50 bucks. That's a half-ton engine stand. It's the best I could do, and I'm still looking around trying to find an engine hoist. On top of that, the truck is no longer operable. The clutch problem that we were having caused it to completely stop being able to move, so I haven't actually been able to discharge the AC either. I'm gonna actually have to get it towed. All right, guys, the guy was really nice about it. Managed to talk him down 10 bucks, down to 50, and got an engine stand finally. So, all right, guys, so I finally found an engine hoist in stock from Harbor Freight. It happened to be at the one that wasn't the closest one, it was the second closest, so that was really lucky. Going to pick that up now. Had to borrow a truck to pick it up, so thanks, Tyler. But yeah, we've finally been able to get started on this job. We've got the truck itself dropped off, getting the AC discharged right now, so we don't have to just vent that to atmosphere. Alright guys, now that we have the engine hoist, we have everything we need to start ripping the engine out of the Ranger. So be sure to check out that upcoming series. Thanks to everyone who made this possible, and we'll see y'all then.